Hey y'all, Devin the Albino Jackass here, and today this video is going to be a little different. Most of my videos are structured, have a plan. Not today though. Today is going to be a little bit of a special episode that I'm going to call Brain Salad, and the reason is because it's going to be basically just me ranting into the camera, talking like I would to friends or family or anything like that. Just kind of giving you my thoughts on a lot of the subjects that I covered in my videos from the previous week, my upload schedule. I'm going to try to keep it every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and keep these kind of videos to every other Saturday. Could change depending on what happens. We'll see how it goes, but that's what I'm going to try to do. Oh, excuse me. How rude. But today, we're just going to kind of cover some things that I think need to be covered. That's why I started the YouTube channel after all. I never really thought of myself as an influencer or a YouTuber or anything like that. But I finally decided, you know what, with being unemployed right now, living on a fixed income, being disabled, why not take a shot? Ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to be a soldier, but for obvious reasons, that wasn't going to happen. So my second choice would have been like a late night radio host. I always loved listening to like Coast to Coast AM and stuff like that. I always thought that was the coolest job, was having a late night radio show. So that's what I'm going to try to get these Saturday episodes to be like, just kind of what if I had a radio show, this is what it would be. This is about as close as I think I could ever get. If I had the licensing and everything, I'd play music as well, but unfortunately I can't do that. But going back to one of the reasons as to why I started the channel, you know, I have 6 videos up, and I've never really went into why I started this, so here we go. Really, like I said, I never wanted to be an influencer or anything like that. But once The Acolyte came out, and the absolute butchery that show did to Star Wars, it was like, you know, I've had enough. And I finally decided, you know what, I am going to speak on these things, on these cultural issues, on these social issues, on these political issues. I am going to talk about that, but I also want to do my own thing and talk about Fallout and Star Wars and all of that. I want to focus on that. But, as Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture, so I'm going to have to get into it, and I figure might as well dive in with both feet. And one of the reasons that The Acolyte bothered me so much was its very poorly veiled political messaging. It was very noticeable. From the lesbian space witches to the comment, the galaxy doesn't welcome people like us, and these heavy-handed references. I'm just excited for the last episode when the lesbian space witches come back and use the thread to dildo fuck all the Jedi to death. But it speaks to the rot in the culture right now. This wokeness, this left-wing crazy bullshit that they want us. I am so sick of these rainbow retards ruining everything they get their fucking hands on. I'm just calling this crap for what it is. I mean, these people are evil. There's no other way to deny that. These people out in Hollywood, LA, all these fucking people, they're all a bunch of wealthy pedophiles and drug abusers that are going to lecture us, the average everyday people, on how to live our lives. My response to you is get fucked. And, you know, there is no hatred in my heart for anyone. I don't care what you do in your personal life. I really don't. It is not in me to hate anyone. It doesn't matter. People who have committed the crimes that I think are the most egregious, I don't hate them. But there comes a point where you gotta call this shit for what it is. It's evil. The same people that will side with a genocidal terrorist group that cannot create, can only destroy, goes by they, them pronouns, and cries out in pain when you call them by their actual name. I don't know what you'd call that. I'd call that a fucking demon, man. That whole group is evil, and I'm tired of seeing it in the culture. I really am. Don't get me wrong. If my son came up to me one day and said, "Dad, I think I'm gay," my response is going to be, "Oh, that's cool. What do you want for dinner?" That's my prospective kid you're talking about. I'm not going to care if he's gay or got an arm growing out of his ass. They want to paint us as hateful, because that keeps us all infighting with each other, so we're all too distracted to see who's really doing the screwing. And it bothers me that no one wants to call this out. And keep in mind, I'm not some mega Trump guy. Personally, I'm thinking of voting for RFK. I'm tired of the two-party system. I think it needs a shake-up. So I tend to lean to RFK. But that's just me. You don't have to do that. You can think that's nuts if you want. But the Acolyte was kind of the breaking point for me. You know, I can put up with a lot of political messaging. You know, as I said in the Acolyte video, I love All in the Family, Family Guy, American Dad, The Simpsons. But these feel like shows that are meant to be entertainment first. And anymore these people want to lecture us, and I'm just over it. I'm over it, and I'm going to call it as I see it. One thing I can promise you if you watch this channel is I'm going to give you my honest opinion no matter what. My honest opinion on Donald Trump is he is a corrupt adulterer who has no business trying to pander to Christians. None. Period. That being said, I thought he was a decent president. If he were a Fallout character, he'd have the idiot savant perk. But in the primaries, I wanted Nikki Haley. That didn't happen. And we're stuck with what we got. And, you know, watching the debate the other night, again, going back to my debate video, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill, needs looked into for elder abuse. It is a crying shame what they are doing to this man. It's fucking pitiful. And that is the leader of the free world, man. And they're treating him this way. It's insulting. And, you know, whoever the president is, I support him. I want him to do well. I want everyone to prosper. My favorite politician in American history is William Jennings Bryan. Because he stood up for the plain, ordinary people of this country, and he was a Democrat. I think him and Tulsi Gabbard would have got along quite well. And this corrupt, evil ideology that has taken hold in Hollywood, man, we got to start speaking out against that and shaking it up. But that being said, not everyone has those motivations. Not everyone has those values out in Hollywood. And there's a lot of good entertainment being made still. And make no mistake, the right likes to cry woke when it's not. People, just for an example, the Ahsoka show, people wanted to call that woke. And it's not, because these were well-established characters that were competent. It was clearly shown Sabine struggled to use the Force throughout that show. No one was a Mary Sue. There was no super obvious girl power message. It was focused on telling a good story that just happened to have a lot of women in it. And a lot of people want to criticize Thrawn's actions at the end of Ahsoka, because they don't understand military tactics. Thrawn was doing what the Allies did at Dunkirk. Fight a delaying action to buy yourself time to retreat. That's not woke. That's not showing an incompetent man. That's showing someone who knows how to fight a delaying action. Understand military tactics, people. Yeah, you're throwing lives away. That's kind of the fucking point of that whole thing. They're buying time. They're sacrificing themselves to buy time. Boy, the French didn't give up, man. They get a bad rap, but at Dunkirk they saved the day. But that's getting off topic. You know, but that's what these, I call them brain salad episodes, are going to be about. Just me spouting off my worthless ass opinion on everything that's going on. And I hope you enjoy it, but, I mean, hell, I can't help it if you don't. Excuse me. Cheers. But, you know, speaking of cultural things, on the channel coming up, I would look for, gonna be releasing a review on Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, and the Fallout TV show coming up, so do look out for those. Although, I gotta tell you, I am still getting used to YouTube. It feels so weird sitting in here in my room, alone, jabbering into a fucking camera, man. I almost feel like a little kid playing pretend with Dad's camcorder. But, you know, even with that whole rant, I really want a strong, thriving Democratic Party, man. This country would not exist without liberals. And this is my love letter to Democrats. When I think of Harry Truman or FDR or even Jimmy Carter, who gets a really bad rap, that man is a saint, and I will not have his name taken in vain on my channel, period. Love Jimmy Carter, man. He may not have been the most effective president, but he is a genuinely good man, and I love him. Him in his 90s out there building Habitat for Humanity houses. That's awesome. I love that. Tulsi Gabbard, a woman who served her country with distinction and honor, served in Congress, calls it like she sees it, and she's unabashedly left-wing. You know, we gotta come together, man. We gotta fight the extremists on the left and the right. And yes, the right does have that extremist element to it. Because a lot of white supremacists have clung to the MAGA agenda. And I think the reason for that is they're so desperate for anyone to take them seriously that anytime they hear a politician even remotely taking something that could be construed, they can jump on it and say, look, we're in the mainstream now. And it's always someone that looks like me that wants to go on a rant about genetic purity for some reason. It's always some toothless redneck that wants to go on about all that racist nonsense. Genuine racism is about the stupidest thing I think I've ever seen. Even if you try to understand it, it makes no sense. It is the exact reverse of all of this, what I call the rainbow retards. Not your average, everyday gay person. I have many gay family members and friends that I love dearly. Because again, I don't care about any of that. There's no hatred in my heart no matter what you do. What you're not going to do is interject yourself into stories that pre-existed you know, like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or something like that, something that you had no part in creating. You don't get to co-opt that for your own idea. Create your own thing. Make it entertaining and convince people. You can't do that because you know this is a self-eating ideology. So you have to ruin everything else. And anyone that calls you out on it is somehow racist. Doesn't matter if they're black, white. What was it? They called Larry Elder the black face of white supremacy, which was retarded. And we all got to speak on about this. Left-wing people are getting sick of this. You know, even people like me who are more on the right If you want things like universal health care, free education, more infrastructure spending, I can get on board with all of that. But you're going to have to show me how we can achieve this without taxing everyone into poverty. And how we still pay off the tremendous national debt that we have. Lord, I got way off topic here, but hey, man, it's my show and I can do what I want. But, you guys, I'm just a jackass spouting off into his camera, If you agree with me, that's great. But with all of these differences, man, we got to come together. And we got to find a way to fix this, because most people in America, I think, are not on board with either extreme. They don't want what the rainbow retards want, and they don't want what the inbreeders want. People just want to return to sanity. I'm a kid of the late 90s and early 2000s. I remember what that was like. We all made fun of each other. We all picked at each other, and no one got overly offended. Look at me. You can make fun of me all you want. It's not going to hurt my fucking feelings. How does somebody saying something mean to me genuinely affect my life in any way? It doesn't. It's like I said in the video where I talked a little bit about being albino. You would think that I would deal with bullies a lot. Well, no. Because if you're kind to people, show them a basic level of human respect, most people will respond well to that. Yeah, there's always going to be one asshole. Hey, Casper, ain't I so original? And they're fucking not. It's just, I learned this crap when I was like in second grade. How is it this hard for you fucking people to grasp? Get a fucking grip. I really, really want to root for whoever the president is, Democrat, Republican, I don't give a shit. I want us all to get along. I want us all to be happy. I want us all to prosper. And I want our culture to be good. I'm planning a series on the history and decline of country music. I love country music. But me and my fiance have a challenge. We call it the Country Radio Challenge, which is if you can make it for more than a minute while listening to modern country, the other person has to buy lunch. Our entire culture is rotting, and not all of it is due to the left-wing rainbow retard poison. But we have to fix this. We've got to stop putting up with corrupt politicians of both parties. Believe me. You hear that? If you listen real close, you can hear all the Republicans blowing the bankers and oil executives right now. While Democrats are off pandering to a bunch of overeducated tight asses and perpetually online college kids. I don't know what else to say, really, man. It's kind of ridiculous, but it does feel good to get it off my chest. And I know the production quality on these videos isn't the best. That is getting better. I do finally have a computer and some editing software, and we've got a good camera set up, so the production quality on these videos will be improving. Do be patient with me on that. It is to sound like Deion Sanders. I'm coming. And there's a lot of things that I could call out the Republicans on, man, as I sit here and thinking of it, talking about bringing us together. Why is it that even when Trump is clearly guilty of something, even if it's something minor, the Republicans rush to defend him. I call it worshiping at the altar of Trump. Where no matter what this man does, he can do no wrong. That is dangerous. That opens the door for an American Caesar. I don't like the Supreme Court ruling that came out recently, specifically because of that. And if you can see behind me here, you may notice the Caesar's Legion flag. And let me see if I can get the camera going here. That's a Minuteman flag. Both Fallout factions. Pretty much the polar opposite of each other. Evil? Good. That dynamic there is very important to keep in mind when thinking of all of this, because there are elements on both sides. Both the people who worship at the altar of Trump and the rainbow retards have more in common with the Legion than the average everyday person. Most of us, we're the blue flag over here. We're the Minutemen. Be you Democrat, Republican, left wing, right wing, whatever. Most people fit under this banner. It's only a small amount that fly that one. And we got to remember that, and we got to fight them, man. And you don't have to do that violently. Because most of the people who subscribe to this ideology, they're wimps. They're pussies. All you got to do is just not give them what they want. Don't give in to the complaining and the victimization. Don't give in to that. As long as you stand firm and say, no, you're not going to ruin the culture. No, you're not going to hold Asian people out of universities. No, we're not going to support a genocidal terrorist group. All right, we'll look into free. All right, fine, we'll look into universal health care. Every other Western country has it. But going back to the original point I was going to make about an American Caesar, stop worshiping at the altar of Trump. Because stop letting him get away with everything. Because you're opening the door for a Palpatine to come in. Trump might not be that person. But what about afterward? That is the question that Republicans do not ask, and it bothers me. It bothers me to my core. This may upset a lot of people. But I'm okay with that, because somebody's got to say these things. Somebody has to. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have said it a lot better and a lot more eloquently than I ever could. But again, like I said, my favorite political figure is William Jennings Bryan. Because he spoke up for the plain people of this country. And I like to think that even though I might not look like it, I do represent the plain people of this country. Or at least am a good representation of them. No, I don't care about your race or your sexual orientation or if you're trans or not. I don't care about any of that. As long as you are nice and kind to me and to others while you are in my presence, you will always be welcome at my table, no matter who you are. But if you think that I'm going to stay silent while you destroy my culture and my country, you're wrong. But anyway, that's pretty much my rant. And this turned way more political than I meant it to. But, you know, I'm sick of both of these fucking people. That's why I'm thinking I'm going to go for RFK. You may disagree with that. You may not. I don't know. But I really don't want this channel to be political. I really just want to talk about Fallout and Star Wars and things like that. But I feel like it's unavoidable. So I'm going to go ahead and just get it all out now. But that is how I feel, guys. And to give you a quick wrap-up section here, the production quality will be improving here over the next couple of weeks, so do be on the lookout for that. The upload schedule, I'm going to try to keep it Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with a Saturday episode every other week. It's going to be more of this style on Saturdays. And again, guys, just like, share, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video. If not, sorry, but go ahead, leave a like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment. And guys, that I think will wrap us up. I thank you for staying to the end of the video. Thanks for listening to my ramblings, and have a great day.